alluvial soil, black soil, red and yellow soil, and laterite soil. Let us cover the other classification of soil as well. So we are starting with arid soil. We are very particularly familiar with this. Why? Because it's particularly found in Rajasthan. Okay, so let us read. Arid soils range from red to brown in color. They are generally sandy in structure and saline in nature. In some areas, the salt content is so high that common salt is obtained by evaporating the saline water. So this soil ranges from red to brown in color, as you can see here in the images. Okay, they are generally sandy in structure and saline in nature. In some areas, the salt content in this soil is so high that they are used to make salt. Due to the dry climate, high temperature and accelerated evaporation, they lack moisture and humus. Underline these lines. Nitrogen is insufficient and the phosphate content is normal. Lower horizons of the soil are occupied by conker layers because of the increasing calcium content downwards. The conker layer formation in the bottom horizons restricts the infiltration of water, and as such, when irrigation is made available, the soil moisture is readily available for a sustainable plant growth. So you see, nutrients are found in this soil, but they are actually at a very low layer. Okay, there is a high salt content as well, which is found in arid soil. Okay, it lacks moisture and humus, that is organic material like dead plants and animal. As you can see, it is absent here. It is a very arid or sandy nature soil. Okay, it is also alkaline and coarse. Conker layer, which are found in lower horizon, as I just told you. Now this is the area where you will find the arid soil. As you can see, it only covers the part of the Thar desert as well as some parts of the run of Kutch in Gujarat. Arid soils are characteristically developed in western Rajasthan, which exhibit characteristic arid topography. These soils are poor and contain little humus and organic matter. Okay, so this is a very poor soil. It contains little humus and organic matter found in the western side of Rajasthan and Gujarat. Now let us move on to our next soil, which is saline soil. Now, this is saline soil. They are also known as Usara soil. So, saline soils contain a larger proportion of sodium, potassium and magnesium, and thus they are infertile and do not support any vegetative growth. So, this is an infertile soil which does not support any cultivation. They have more salts largely because of dry climate and poor drainage. They occur in arid and semi-arid region and in waterlogged and swampy areas. Underline this, that they have more salt and they occur in arid and semi-arid regions and in waterlogged and swampy regions. Their structure ranges from sandy to loamy. They lack in nitrogen and calcium. Saline soils are more widespread in western Gujarat, deltas of the western coasts and in Sundarban areas of the West Bengal. Alright, so this soil high salt content is due to the dry climate and poor drainage. They are found in the particular area of western Rajasthan, Gujarat, the Sundarban delta. Alright. Now, in the run of Kutch, the southwest monsoon brings salt particles and deposits there as a crust. Seawater intrusions in the deltas promote the occurrence of saline soil. In the areas of intensive cultivation with excessive use of irrigation, especially in areas of green revolution, the fertile alluvial soils are becoming saline. Excessive irrigation and dry climatic condition promotes capillary action, which results in the deposition of salt on the top layer of the soil. In such areas, especially to Punjab and Haryana, farmers are advised to add gypsum to solve the problem of salinity in the soil. Okay, now let us move on to the next soil, which is peaty soil. Now, peaty soil, they are found in the areas of heavy rainfall and high humidity where there is a good growth of vegetation. Thus, large quantity of dead organic matter accumulates in these areas, and this gives a rich humus and organic content to the soil. Now, these soils are found in areas where there is a high rainfall as well as high humidity, and a lot of plants are already growing there. That means it will have a rich amount of humus on it. Organic matter in this soil may go even up to 40 to 50%. These soils are normally heavy and black in color. At many places they are alkaline also. Now it occurs in the northern parts of Bihar, southern part of Uttarakhand and the coastal areas of West Bengal, Odisha and Tamil Nadu. The important crop which is grown in peaty soil is jute, and these are the areas where you will find peaty soil. As you can see, it occurs on the northern parts of Bihar, okay, southern parts of Uttarakhand, which is here, and the coastal areas of West Bengal, Odisha and Tamil Nadu. Okay, peaty soil is found. Now our last is forest soil. Now let us discuss the soil which is found in forest, which is called forest soil. As the name suggests, forest soils are formed in the forest areas where sufficient rainfall is available. The soils vary in structure and texture depending on the mountain environment where they are formed. They are loamy and silty on valley sides and coarse grains in the upper slopes. In the snow-bound areas of the Himalayas, they experience denudation and are acidic with low humus content. Underline this, that they are acidic with low humus content. The soils found in the lower valleys are fertile. So, the forest soil which are found in lower valley will be fertile, and the forest soil which are found in upper areas such as in a mountain or a plateau area, it will be not fertile. It is evident from the foregoing discussion that soils, their texture, quality and nature are vital for the germination and growth of plants and vegetation including crops. Soils are living systems. Like any other organism, they too develop and decay, get degraded, respond to proper treatment if administered in time. So soil here, it is said that it is a living system. Like any other organism, it develops, it decays, it gets reduced, degraded and responds to proper treatment. These have serious repercussions on the other components of the system, of which they themselves are important parts. So these were the classification of soil. Now let us discuss what soil degradation is. Soil degradation. In a broad sense, soil degradation can be defined as the decline in soil fertility. In simple words, if we put students, what is soil degradation? Decline in soil fertility. When the soil fertility decreases, the ability to grow crops and plants decreases. We call that the soil has been degraded. Okay. When the nutritional status declines and the depth of the soil goes down due to erosion and misuse. Soil degradation is the main factor leading to the depleting soil resource in India. The degree of soil degradation varies from place to place according to the topography, wind velocity and amount of the rainfall. Okay, so when the nutritional status declines and depth of the soil goes down due to erosion or misuse, ultimate degradation is the removal or loss of its physical components when the soil loses its fertility and become infertile. That is called soil degradation. I hope you understood. Now let us move on to the topic soil erosion. What is soil erosion? The destruction of the soil cover is described as soil erosion. Underline this, that what is soil erosion? It is the destruction of the soil layer. The soil forming process and the erosional process of running water and wind go on simultaneously. Okay? Now, the soil is both formed as well as it is eroded by both wind and water simultaneously. The rate of removal of fine particles from the surface is the same as the rate of addition of particles to the soil layer. These two things happen at the same time, both the making and degrading of the soil. Sometimes such a balance is disturbed by natural or human factors, leading to a greater rate of removal of soil. But when this balance is disturbed, okay, when the process of the removal of soil gets accelerated, this results in the greater removal of a soil. Human activities too are responsible for soil erosion to a great extent. As the human population increases, the demand of the land also increases. Forest and other natural vegetation is removed for human settlements. For cultivation, for growing animals and for various other needs, we require land and soil for a variety of uses. Correct? That is for human settlement, for cultivation, for growing crops, for growing animals, for grazing animals and for various other needs. Now, wind and water are powerful agents of soil erosion because of their ability to remove soil and transport it. Wind erosion is significant in arid and semi-arid regions. In regions with heavy rainfall and steep slopes, erosion by running water is more significant. Underline these lines, okay, from the para, that the removal of soil by running water and wind is called soil erosion. That is the definition of soil erosion. And the two factors which are responsible for soil erosion, that is water erosion and wind erosion. Okay, let us discuss these. Now see how the soil gets displaced because of wind. Now what happens when a wind blows? It carries down the particle from one part of the soil and deposits it on the other parts. Okay, as you can see in an image of a dust storm given here. What is the dust storm? What is it doing? The strong gust of wind will take up particles from one part of the land and it will move it to the next part. Correct? Now, same thing happens with water erosion. Water erosion, for example, when a particular river is running from a mountain to a plain, what it will do, it will erode that particular layer of soil from where it is flowing. It will take up the particles, the small particles, the small stones, and it will continuously erode them as it goes down. And it will deposit that soil cover on the plains. Alright? Now, Water erosion, which is more serious and occurs extensively in different parts of India, takes place mainly in the form of sheet and gully erosion. Now what these are, let us see. Underline, sheet erosion takes place on level lands after a heavy shower, and the soil removal is not easily noticeable, but it is harmful since it removes the finer and more fertile top of soil. Gully erosion is common on steep slope. Gullies deepen with rainfall, cut the agricultural land into small fragments and make them unfit for cultivation. A region with a large number of deep gullies or ravines is called a badland topography. Underline this, that a region where you will find deep gullies, areas of land which are eroded by rainwater, that is called badland topography. Ravines are widespread in the Chambal basin. Besides these, they are also found in Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. The country is losing about 8,000 hectares of land to ravines every year. What types are prone to gully erosion? Now, soil erosion is a serious problem for Indian agriculture, and its negative effects are seen in other spheres as well. Eroded materials are carried down to rivers, and they lower down their carrying capacity and cause frequent floods and damage to agricultural lands. Deforestation is one of the major causes of soil erosion. Underline this, the deforestation, that is cutting of trees, is also one of the major causes of soil erosion. Plants keep soil bound in locks of roots and thus prevent erosion. What do plants do? They actually bind the soil with their roots and prevent erosion. But when we cut these plants, when we uproot them, the soil is free and easily gets displaced by wind or water. They also add humus to the soil by shedding leaves and twigs. Forests have been denuded practically in most parts of India, but their effects on soil erosion are more in hilly parts of the country. A fairly large area of arable land in the irrigated zones of India is becoming saline because of over irrigation. Now we are actually heavily cultivating our irrigation land, okay? The salt lodge in the lower profile is the soil comes up to the surface and destroys its fertility. Chemical fertilizer in the absence of organic manures are also harmful to the soil. The chemical fertilizers which we use to make our soil fertile, they are also very harmful for our soil in the long run. Unless the soil gets enough humus, chemicals harden it and reduce its fertility in the long run. Unless this problem is common in all the command areas of the river valley projects, which were the first beneficiaries of Green Revolution. Areas which were heavily cultivated and irrigated during the Green Revolution, these areas are most prone to soil erosion. According to estimates, about half of the total land of India is under some degree of degradation. About half of the India's land is under some degree of degradation, that it is slowly degrading. Every year, India loses millions of tons of soil and its nutrients to the agents of its degradation, which adversely affects our national productivity. So it is imperative to initiate immediate steps to reclaim and conserve soil. Up until now, we have learned that what is soil and how is it so much important to us and how it is getting degraded. Correct? So it is up to us to save and conserve our soil. Now let us see the last topic of this chapter, that is soil conservation. If soil erosion and exhaustion are caused by humans, by corollary, they can also be prevented by humans. So if we are the ones causing soil erosion, we can also prevent it. We can also take measures to save soil. Nature has its own laws of maintaining balance. Nature offers enough opportunities for humans to develop their economy without disturbing the ecological balance. You might have heard the term called sustainable development, which is developing but also taking care of our natural resources. Correct? Underline this. Soil conservation is a methodology to maintain soil fertility, prevent soil erosion and exhaustion, and improve the degraded condition of the soil. Okay, this is your definition for soil conservation. Now, soil erosion is essentially aggravated by faulty practices. The first step in any rational solution is to check open cultivable lands on slopes from farming. So first step that we can do to conserve our land, conserve our soil, is to check the fertile land, okay? Land which is cultivable and is suitable for farming. Now lands with a slope gradient of 15 to 25% should not be used for cultivation. If at all the land is to be used for agriculture, terraces should carefully be made, right? Terrace cultivation, I hope you all know what is terrace cultivation, in which crops are grown in a terrace-like structure so that water can run through them easily. Overgrazing and shifting cultivation in many parts of India have affected the natural cover of land and given rise to extensive erosion. It should be regulated and controlled by educating villagers about the consequences. Okay, so overgrazing and shifting cultivation. Overgrazing means the land on which the animals graze, and shifting cultivation is a practice done in the rural parts of India where after having a crop on a soil for 3-4 times, they burn the soil and move to somewhere else. All right. So we should educate the villagers about the consequences, and it should be regulated and controlled. Contour bounding, contour terracing, regulated forestry, controlled grazing, cover cropping, mixed farming and crop rotation are some of the remedial measures which are often adopted to reduce soil erosion. Underline these, that these are some of the measures, remedial measures which we can take to prevent soil erosion. Efforts should be made to prevent gully erosion and control their formation. Finger gullies can be eliminated by tracing. In bigger gullies, the erosive velocity of water may be reduced by constructing a series of check dams. So what we can do, because of heavy rainwater, the cracks which are formed in the soil, gullies, we can prevent them by making a series of check dams. Special attention should be made to control headward expansion of gullies. This can be done by gully plugging, terracing, or by planting cover vegetation. Now, what about arid and semi-arid areas? In arid and semi-arid areas, effort should be made to protect cultivable land from encroachment by sand dunes through developing shelter belts of tree and agroforestry. Okay, how can we prevent the spread of desert, the spread of arid soil? We can use it. We can use trees. We can plant trees as a belt. Okay. Land not suitable for cultivation should be converted into pastures for grazing. Now, on the land which is not suitable for cultivation, it should be converted into pasture, into grazing land where animals can graze. Experiments have been made to stabilize sand dunes in the western Rajasthan by the Central Arid Zone Research Institute, that is CSZRI. The Central Soil Conservation Board set up by the Government of India has prepared a number of plans for soil conservation in different parts of the country. So even the Government of India is aware of this fact, and they are taking measures to prevent soil erosion. These plans are based on the climatic condition, configuration of land, and the soil behavior of people. Even these plans are fragmental in nature. Integrated land use planning therefore seems to be the best technique for proper soil conservation. So the best technique would be to have an integrated land use planning, that we should plan how we're going to use the land which we have in our country judiciously. Now, the final responsibility for achieving the conservation of land will rest on the people who operate on it and receive the benefits. The final responsibility depends on us. We have learned that soil is we depend so much on soil for our food, for our clothes, as well as for medicines, correct? So many forests we cover medicines from as well. So it is up to us to save soil, to understand it, to study it, all right? So student, this concludes our chapter number 6, soils, okay? Watch the video carefully. I hope you are all well. Thank you.